I mean, C4 pretty much says that. Don't make one mistake.
All right, well, we're live and we have no debaters, so let's just broadcast a shit show. That works too. We'll figure it out.
Virgil, draw faster.
Hey, I'm here.
Was that Sean?
That's Sean. Yeah, he's under default.
Yeah,
Did somebody change your name? That's fucking annoying. Hold on.
no, I changed it.
That's equally annoying.
Yeah.
Equally annoying. Hold on.
He's annoying, and we love him for it.
Good.
Yeah, no. No worries.
Is that why you were asking where I was?
Yeah, dude.
Right here.
Looking for someone named Sean G. It's like, who the hell is this default guy flipping me out?
Because Larry kept saying Flat Earth is just the default, so I decided that's a good name.
Wouldn't you be like antipode default or something then?
No, just default.
But you're not a flat earther.
Default.
I don't think you get
That's
the argument.
For everything. I don't think he does either.
Why do you sound like you're in a bathroom, Sean?
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you got
I'm sitting in the bedroom.
We're not shitting with you, are we? I'm offended.
No,
Bye,
no,
Jula.
I don't know.
Bye,
That's
Jula.
just rude.
I think I know where the disconnect is here. Sorry.
Yeah, he's on an island. That's the disconnect.
Yeah, no, that is exactly one of them. But it's more you've done the lens and you've thickened the lens according to the scale of the distance. Whereas I believe the flat earthers believe that lens itself represents the total atmosphere in between.
Oh, really? Is that why I didn't say earlier that I would take the density of that lens and that I would expect to have that amount of material between you and the observer at 6 miles, or the object at 6 miles?
I didn't hear any of that. Is that what they instructed you to do? Because I would assume that the collective effect of the atmosphere at long distances would cause this magnification effect.
Yep, so they didn't say that, but I suggested that that's what I'm going to do, because I understand that the lens effect wouldn't be a wall between you and the object. It would be the amount of material between you and the object. So I would take the density of that 7.92 meter thick Fresnel lens, and then that amount of material would be expected between you and an object 6 miles away. Doing the math for that right now.
Yeah, I don't actually get that. It may be my disconnect, or I've just highlighted my disconnect. That's all. But I would assume.
Well, we don't have a physical lens between us and a 6 mile object when we're.
That's it.
Talking about this. Yes.
That's what I'd assume. The lens is there to replicate the atmosphere at long distances. In my view.
Right. So from your eyeballs to that object, there's 6 miles of atmosphere. The accumulation of all of that material in that distance, as claimed, or at least implicated by the flat Earth explanations, is that amount of material in that distance is bending the light in such a way that gives us bottom-up obstruction, or whatever the claim would be. But yes, the amount of material falls in that. All I'm doing with this is that if you're doing a very short scale model to show that it's possible to get these effects, but we have to use this physical lens, I'm going to scale it up. And then I'm going to see if that amount of material...
Get you. Sorry. Yep, it is. You've clicked it in there. It is my misunderstanding. So this is like a scale up version of it, but still not the real atmosphere, obviously. Yep.
Right.
Get that there.
Once I get the amount of material, once I get the density, I'll multiply 7.92, and that's the amount of physical material. Then I'm going to do that for the atmosphere at ground level or 6 feet above, and then 6 miles times that density for the air. I'm going to compare those two numbers.
I get you. I think I get you now, more clearer on that. Sorry, I've distracted the conversation rather than brought clarity.
No, you did move it forward, because there is an understanding. So I appreciate that.
You cleared it up for me. There we go. So yeah, sorry, you're looking to do this in reality as an actual test. Yeah.
So sort of. It was presented, the Rob Skiba thing, using a Fresnel lens, just showing that it's possible, or you can get a similar effect. So I'm just doing the math. If the numbers are way off, then I would make the argument that we can't apply this observation to reality. That would be my...
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I get that. And then obviously the opposing is all you can do is just keep on scaling up until either it doesn't match or it will just keep matching. Yeah. Or
So,
blocking something in the bottom.
Can someone link the Skiba thing we're talking about? That would help me a great deal.
Yeah, sure. I'll grab it if no one's got it to hand.
Also, we're missing Dovid, who mysteriously volunteered and then disappeared like a little biatch. But Brian Leakey stepped up. Do you want to debate Brian Leakey, Sean G, for an hour or so?
I'm really bummed out. I wanted to hear this whole concave Earth.
Yeah, me too. He's been itching about it for a while. He made himself a role for it and everything, so I was curious. I think he's the only one.
Mike, is this mic any better?
It's differently worse.
No. Oh, okay. That's good.
In the general chat video.
Thank you. Leaky, are you muted? No one can hear you, dude. You're not muted. You're unmuted.
Yeah, my man.
Speaking.
Are you on that same island? Come on. Swim closer, sir.
What the hell? Leaky, we can't hear anyone. Can't hear you at all. We can hear everyone else but you. Like to come back? That's a smart move. Still.
Can I get a mic check?
There you go.
What's going on, Gleam?
Blessed, sir. How are you? You good?
Yeah, very good, man. Always a pleasure.
And you, man. And you.
Oh,
you talked to Brandon lately?
No, I haven't at all, ever. Really? At all. No. Everything back in the day, I sent him a few emails just to make sure he was okay.
Yeah,
heard nothing back. Yeah, I just.
He let me know he was okay, man. He fucks with me here and there.
Yeah, I see him on Twitter. I see him post on Twitter. He posts regular on there.
He came in with gems the other day.
Did he really? Okay. He told me he was like he watched the debate with me and Witchett. He commented on that. He messaged me saying we destroyed him, and I forgot he made a point. I wish I could quote it because it was a good point on how they kind of stomped on their own argument there in the middle of it, but I can't pull it up right this second. You know, I figured I'm like, why is he contacting me and nobody else, man? I figured it'd have been like Jeremy or you or somebody. But so I felt privileged, man. Brandon, if you're listening, we know you're all right. We know your head's still glued on straight, and we miss you, brother.
Yeah, that's it. I do go back to his channel every now and then to cite shit. Of course. No, well, I've said this then. Look.
To this day, man, he's got one of the strongest, like, actual presentations with when Professor Phil, the guy who supposedly, well, I got no reason to doubt he makes the satellites, and so he showed he presented to Brandon, and Brandon scrutinized them dropping the satellites in quote unquote orbit, and Brandon showed how they were being hidden in the clouds. So Brandon Toy demonstrated that there's clouds in orbit, people, blocking the satellites that they're dropping. That's kind of strange, huh?
That's a cute one.
I mean, you can think what you want about the satellites and so on. I don't care. I've got no dog in that race. But I will say I've done my due diligence on Professor Phil Bell to find out whether he was a real professor, and uncovered 100% he does work for ISRO.
Yeah, I don't deny his credentials, man.
100%. I've seen a photo of him in the lab with the satellites with a team of people, and he's kind of like the lead guy. and they
He would
say
also,
he is the lead guy as well. So he's
man.
definitely
Shout out,
knowledgeable. Yeah, he's definitely knowledgeable. We've got to give him
shout
that.
out to Phil Bell, man. I'm
Yeah,
not really striking him down, but you would then
yeah,
also
no, that's it.
agree that that
Mm.
the evidence that he got from whoever launched it was the same evidence he presented to us, right? So he doesn't have any special launch cameras.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, you are correct there. He done the same to me. He said, "Here, look at this thing, Gleam. If you think this isn't a real sort of like one take, I think it was. I think it was to do with the topic of there's no one take from here to space, and it wasn't a one take for one, and it was definitely a GoPro camera, but he cited somebody else's YouTube channel, which was." Kind of like you must have seen all of those NASA live spin-off channels, which are not actually NASA live. They're just pretending to be live, and they're old recordings.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it. It's similar to that. He's pointed me to, and I was like, that's kind of what made me realize exactly what you just said. It was like, well, wait there, he would have pointed me to some official stuff. But yeah, exactly that. It may be the case, exactly that. They don't get any special privileges. They can just get to cite the website and YouTube channels, and he's just doing what a lot of people do and just quickly search up YouTube. But it is appalling, really.
My point would be this, man. Like, there's a reason that video of satellites being dropped and all this is scarce. Is because look what happens when they do present it, man. With a little bit of scrutiny, we could see that it's easily debunked. There's something. They do have. I'm not trying to go against technology. There's incredible technology, whether it's on balloons, whether it's high altitude drones. I mean, there's something up there. I would argue, but as far as it being what they claim, I think it's easy to show and just prove on common sense that it's not. They haven't proven it's what they claim.
Yeah, that's it. They do good animation, though, don't they? They do really good animation. I like their animation.
Yeah.
Cool. It's like in the general chat now, watching an old Tom and Jerry movie.
So Sean G.
That's funny, man. Phil came on to try and defend it, and he didn't stay for long because it's just obvious, man. It's like there can't be a cloud in between you and a satellite if it's said elevation, hundreds of miles up there. There can't possibly be a cloud blocking the camera's view of that satellite. And the next one that was previous top of
You're roboting again.
Jesus.
Sorry.
So
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shane was just about to have a word with Sean G. I think it was something to do with the debate.
Yeah, Sean G, you down to debate Brian Leakey? I think he prepared a presentation just for you. Maybe not just for you, but it'll be the same thing. Travis is here. What does that mean?
Peter Ben.
My name is Travis.
Does somebody what?
Yeah, I don't know. I was asking Sean a question and he typed the response, Travis is here, but I don't see how it's related.
Yeah, Travis has never, ever, ever, ever debated Sean G. I can't say that with a straight face.
Who? Sean who?
No, to let everyone know in on the inside joke, they've debated millions of hours, let alone hundreds of thousands of trillions.
Every time it's the same.
That sounds awful. So do you mind debating Brian Leakey, Sean G? Do you want to do that?
I'll hear his presentation.
Not me. I'm about to have
I am here. Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, hey, look, there he is. All right, convex Earth. God damn it. Yeah, convex Earth debate.
I literally blew a fuse.
Oh. Well, to be mentioned, to be
no
for
power,
sure, every time
now I have power again.
Every time I throw out an invitation for anyone to step up, Brian Leakey is the only one who does. That's twice now. Just saying, that is all. He's a good man.
Thank you, man. I will go on mute, and I'm glad both debaters are here, and good luck to you both.
You're like the all-star backup, dude. You're here all the time. I love it. He's like, I'll do it whenever. All right, Dovid. An informal debate. Why don't you show us convex Earth, and then Sean will show you how you're wrong.
Concave Earth, it is. And I didn't put together a presentation, so I mean, I don't have a case to make that's organized or anything. I can get some pictures off of Google and I can show you, and if you have any questions about it, I can explain how it works.
Isn't that the height about the height of flat Earth preparedness anyway? That's what we do on the fly anyway, right?
No, I'd say just give a brief introduction of you and your beliefs, and say what has led you to your beliefs, what evidence you may have, or why you believe it is, and then Sean G will do the same and try to either attack that, and then you can have a flip too. Sorry, I'm not even a mod.
Well, I'll give a little introduction to the concave Earth here. I'm sending a visual aid, so watch general for a second here. You see in the very middle there, you see some stars. That's what we would call the celestial sphere. It's like the nucleus. It is the sky. You go up and you go towards the center, and then you go down, and that would be going away from the center. So it's almost, you can imagine like a gravitron. We live on the inside surface, and then the sky is this glass sphere here, presumably glass sphere in the middle. And the most integral feature of this, which makes it make sense, which you can't miss, is that light bends. And that's what you're seeing at the bottom of the celestial sphere there is the sun. And the light that's being emitted from the sun, you see directly underneath it, it's going straight. But then as you go further and further away from the direct line of sight to the sun, it's actually curving. Because in this case, in this model, light is following a field. One large field that is presumably a vortex from the very center, so that it would create field lines like this. It's comparable to a magnetic field. It's just that we know of, that I know of anyway, there is no way to make light follow a field like that, like a magnetic field. But we do know that light is electromagnetic. So for this reason, I see absolutely no reason at all that some kind of great field that light will follow is not viable. And that's my introduction.
Well, I was just going to ask, can I start asking questions? I mean, we already know the globe model. I don't really need to defend it. Pretty simple. Can I ask you some questions about the concave Earth?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, the picture you shared in there, I want to ask you about first. So the way that light bends, does that go around Earth, or does that just stay in one spot? So we have the nighttime and the daytime. So the objects in the middle are rotating, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
like the sun, like the celestial bodies, yeah, they'd be following a drift. That would be the same thing as the etheric drift, right? And presumably the same thing as the field that this light is following. Some sort of, we can call it an etheric drift because it's very unknown to us how to really quantify this, figure out exactly what's happening. But some kind of drift in what we call the background medium.
So what we call the background medium, like the Big Bang, is you're saying is that field, right?
I don't know about that Big Bang thing, but yes, definitely.
Well, no, I'm just saying as a comparison. You called it the background, so that's why I was asking. It's the picture, so it's kind of hard for me to tell. But do they stay in position, or does the moon and the sun not on the same orbital path? Because you said it kind of follows the way that light bends, right? The moon would.
You mean the position that you see it?
Yeah. So right now it's what, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, but is it 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock? Does it stay in its orientation where it's at right now? Or, I mean, obviously we see that the sun and the moon get closer to each other. We have eclipses. So that moon actually changes that light, the way that light bends in that field, right?
Yeah, the glass and the bending of the light would be why you see the sun and the moon not changing in size as they set.
But you're not okay. So in this model, where the moon's at the very top, so wherever the moon is, that field is like that, right? Or is there a rotation in your model? Is anything
Rotation
besides
of the celestial
so
sphere and the
okay?
what we could call the background medium, the ether.
So, but the Earth is stationary, as it is.
Presumably.
Okay, so when the moon moves, and that field moves as well, at what point do we get an eclipse, and how do we see that? So, if you're at the top of that, in the top of the inside, you would be seeing an eclipse right now. That you're seeing light.
The top of the inside. Hold on, let me look at the visual aid here. I will offer another visual aid. Give me a moment here.
Well, basically, what I'm trying to get at is the way you're saying that we see the light, and that's why we're seeing it this way. When we have an eclipse, what is that field doing? Because the way it looks, if the celestial bodies are rotating, then that orientation stays the same. That's what I'm trying to ask. I'm not seeing how it changes.
How what changes?
From no moon to a crest to a eclipse, all the phases of the moon that we see, I'm not seeing how we visually see that.
Here's another visual aid. Maybe this will help you out a little bit more. Because it's the light bending which creates the moon phases. And it's the same thing which illuminates the stars at night, presumably.
But aren't we standing on the blue area, right? That would be our atmosphere.
Hold on, blue area. Which visual aid are you looking at? The one that I sent before?
The first one. Yep.
Yep, we're standing on the blue area.
Okay, so if that's the case, and the light is behind the moon, if the moon is directly overhead, how is it getting light? Because the light's behind.
You can see the light. You can see the light hitting it.
So if, yeah, well, that's what I'm asking. So at spot where it says 24, the 24 part of the clock, if you're standing there and you're looking at the moon, you're saying it's a full moon, but where is that light coming from? Because the light is bending behind it. That's what makes nighttime, right?
No, this one right here. That's a new moon.
Okay, but it's lit up on the side of where we would see.
Wait, hold on. Now
all the moons.
Oh wait, no.
See,
I think I see your problem. See, it doesn't really matter because in the yellow you're seeing the sun's light being tracked. So the point is that if this point were emitting light that you're looking at, you can just copy and paste the exact same pattern of light that the sun's light is following, but that would be the moon's light after it is reflected.
So the moon reflects light, or the moon is a light source as well?
No, in this model it's just reflecting the sun's light.
But in reverse. See, that's what I'm getting, because all the little moons, because there's a bunch of moons, right? Those are the positions of the moons and the seasons and everything.
Yes, those are just showing the different positions of the moon.
So the ones at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, all those moons, I could see how you're getting a reflection on that side because it'd be reflecting off the Earth, right? That's the baby blue and everything. But again, where it's nighttime, and for the sake of the discussion, the top is nighttime.
What do you mean
right?
reflecting off the Earth?
Okay, so everywhere from between 21 and 3, all from down, all the whole bottom, that light, it hits our our atmosphere where we're standing. So I assume the moons, basically all your moons are the light's coming from the outside, not the inside. And right?
Did you see the more recent visual aid that I sent?
The dream.
I've got
Okay,
another one coming here.
Okay, I'm looking at that one. Okay, that makes more sense.
And look at this one.
Okay.
See there, you have the new moon, the full moon. You have all the phases.
But you
It's
still
pretty.
have that.
It's pretty intuitive when you look at it. Really, when you look at the full scale of it.
But it's not because so in the picture you just put in, where's nighttime right now in that image?
It's at the top.
Okay, so if it's at the top, well, first problem is we know that the Terminator line is much bigger than that for the nighttime. You know, it would be half of the Earth, not just the top part.
It is showing half.
How? How do you see half right now?
Cut it off horizontally halfway through the image. Then you see, because it also predicts dawn and dusk perfectly. Of course, the bending light.
What obstructs the light?
What do you mean? It's receiving less. It's bending.
Well, no, because the way you have it right now, the way that picture is showing it, it's like a personal moon. It'd be like only the one part would see the moon, where the other part of the nighttime doesn't see the moon. Where do we see that? Because you wouldn't have
Wait, no. What do you mean? No.
Okay, so we have a moonrise and a moonset. We have a sunrise, sunset. The same situation. I mean, we observe that, period. So it has to be part of your model. So in your model, you're saying that at some point it's dark, but you see light, and then you see the moon right next to it. Because this is the way that field's going is what we see when we look up in the sky. We're looking at that in the sky, but that's not what we see. That's the one I'm trying to get at.
No, you're just misinterpreting. You're just misinterpreting it, but you're not being detailed enough. So I don't know where you're not understanding it properly.
Well, because I think I'm understanding it properly, or maybe if I get the globe model and show you what I'm talking about in that. So if I put this picture in the chat.
See, I sent a little bit of a more detailed one.
The same way we look at this. Sorry, I'm trying to get it right now. Well, the same way we look at a globe model and we see the Terminator line, I'm trying to understand where your Terminator line sits on and how it works on your model.
Terminator line is in.
Say again?
Terminator line as in.
This line that depicts light, night and day. I'll put it in the chat right now so you can see.
Oh, yeah. You want me to? I guess I could put it. I probably shouldn't have to put it in paint here. Okay, go back to the most recent image I sent.
Yep.
Okay, the points where the red lines are touching the ground are the points where you see daytime.
But you would also see what? Okay.
And obviously, you can see at the very edge there are less lines touching, so you would see less light, which is what that's representing. So that's just dusk and dawn.
So, but the thing is when I'm describing the globe model in this situation that we're discussing, the sunrise, sunset, the reason why we no longer see light, or we no longer see the sun, but we see light, is because the Earth is obstructing it. And it's the same way for dusk or dawn. So in your model, I'm trying to figure out what is stopping the light from being seen in any of the other areas, because it's presented as this field.
It's bending.
But
Yeah,
you
it's
still
because of a
still
field,
see it, right?
Yeah, it's following a field.
But you would still see it, right? Okay.
No,
The
because
same
the
way the
light
sun
is not
disappears.
hitting your eye. You don't see light
Okay.
going through the air. You see light when it hits your eye.
Okay, so you're saying it bends in one way all the time.
It always follows this great field here. That because the field is
Makes it
based
bend?
in the very
What
center.
is creating this field?
The field. The same thing that makes electrons bend through a magnetic field.
Right, what's generating the field is what he's asking.
Yeah.
I haven't been there myself. I'm just hypothesizing that this field does exist, and that if we assume light does follow this field inside of the concave Earth, then this can explain a lot of things that we observe.
So
I don't think it. I don't think it. I don't think it matches our observations, or you would have, or better yet, there's nothing that you could take from our observations to configure and make that. That's why it's so hard for me to understand how your terminator line works.
What do you observe that you don't think is compatible with this, and I can explain it?
The terminator line.
Okay, so you just don't understand that is the thing, because it actually does make perfect sense, right? Because okay, let's say it's kind of we could treat it like a clock, or here the top left corner of the image, the most recent one I sent, the eyeball that is closest to the top left corner. Can you look at that?
Okay.
So let's say you're there and you're just looking from ground level, so you're not elevated, you're at ground level. From ground level, it's going to be dark for you, because even though those light rays are there, they are bending. They never actually hit your eye. They're bending through the sky. So no light rays are actually hitting your eye. Therefore, you don't actually see any light. You see darkness.
But then I guess the big issue would be back to where, what's creating this field to do that, because in any other situation, I would think you'd still see the light. The reason why we don't see the light is because there's a big ass body in front of it. So I'm not understanding the obstruction aspect of it, I guess.
Let's see, this whole model is about light bending. Like it explains multiple things, right? It's the same reason why when a ship sails off to the sea, you see it sink into the horizon. And I'll show you a visual aid for that.
I think the reason we see
conceptualize that.
I think the reason we see a ship just start obstructing at certain distances is literally because of curvature. And I think there are definitely refractive qualities, but it does not quantify the whole thing of being obstructed. I mean, I show pictures all the time with 50 feet of obstruction that, I'm sorry, you can't quantify with a mirage.
Well, yeah, we don't have to. Take a look at this. It makes perfect sense in the concave Earth, right? Because if light is bending in this exact way that I'm saying it is following a perfect field from the center, perfectly consistently, we're not changing it at all, then that would just so happen to make it so that when a ship sails off or when a car drives away real far and you're looking with binoculars, you got to get that distance, then an object will actually seem to be cut off from the bottom and sink into the horizon as it gets further away, as illustrated by that image I just sent.
What creates the amount of light bending?
What would create it? Sorry.
Yeah. So a mirage we see at the end of the day, we know it's because of where the sun's position apparent to us, and how light bends. So that's where we know how inferior miraging and all these other different effects that happen. We understand that it takes this to happen for this. So what does it take? Does this happen all the time? What creates? I mean, the big question is what makes the light bend this way?
I see what you mean. Well, the thing about refraction that you got to understand for this to make sense is that the light is following a great field on a worldwide scale, right? You don't generate smaller versions of these fields as in magnets, right? Where you have all sorts of magnetic fields and then one great Earth's magnetic field. For this one that we know of, there is no observable or repeatable example of creating a photonic field, as we'll call it here. You know, like something like an electromagnetic field that light rays will follow, in the same way that electrons will follow a magnetic field.
So you're basically saying it's like a physical light, like it has to be physical light then, right? Because you're describing it as, yeah. I mean, you're describing it as something that, well, you're describing something that you can't explain how, or why, or what makes it react that way. Whereas where we're talking about refraction, we understand that, you know, the position and the air temperature, water, all these things that factor into
that's
it.
what I was explaining. That's what I was explaining, is that what you got to understand is that it's following this great field in this model, and all refraction is obstacles, the light going through obstacles as it's following this field on the great scale, right? It's like it's following the field, right? And at a small scale, it can just look like it's going in straight lines, right? But at the great scale, it's following that same one field, the only photonic field, as we can call it, that we know of that exists, that light will follow. So if we assume that, then it makes perfect sense.
But it doesn't make perfect sense if we're assuming.
Well, you have to make assumptions, right, sometimes. And if you find out that those assumptions were true and that they were justified, then you've discovered something.
Okay, so what point in these assumptions do you see it being that way? So, for instance, when we do a light, you know, laser through sugar water or whatever, we see how it bends. Where do we see a situation where it bends up, right? I mean, we can, but I'm asking you what creates that scenario.
Are you asking why the light follows this field or what creates the field, or are you asking how we can find out that light is following the field?
Yeah, well, you've already said that you don't exactly know, because it's basically a theory, a hypothesis that you're having. But at the same time, to do so, you have to understand how whatever you're working with works. We're doing a test, and we want to know. We're trying to show that, you know, light bends down through the denser median. In your test, you're going to be trying to show me that it does the opposite.
The opposite? No. Refraction exists. This isn't competing with refraction. Light is always following this field at the large scale, at the macro. But then refraction is just like going through obstacles, and then it's getting bent in a skewed path as it's following that path.
But the thing is on the globe, on my globe, the reason that happens is the shape of the Earth and the obstruction and the way the light bends around it. On yours, there's no clear way. So how are you quantifying how it bends? How are you quantifying?
There's no clear way. There's no clear way of what?
Okay, so you were saying that this field reacts in the way it does. How would the field act if it was on the outside of it? It'd act the exact same way as on the globe, right? It's just reversed.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Okay, so
if it bends towards the center of the Earth on a globe.
Well, okay. So the way we know how light bends in any observation, conditions, the Earth itself, regardless, there are things that we can establish to recreate a scenario or try to observe it again. What I'm asking is in this scenario where this field happens, is it that way all the time, or is it like we observe and it's always changing?
What we observe in this model would be consistent with our observations to assume that there is one great field that light is following at all times, and that's the reason objects appear to sink into the horizon as they get further away. That's the reason we have day and night, and that would be the exact same reason without altering the idea at all. That would be the exact reason why stars are illuminated at night.
Okay.
Any sort of reflective material would have that effect.
What are the
light would
objects
be
that are
bending towards it?
what are the objects that are obstructing, that are doing this obstructing of the light or bending of the light so you can't see it? Because now
there's no obstructing. The light is following a field, just like electrons. You can imagine.
Okay, but how do I say? What makes it so it doesn't hit your eyes in any other part? Or any part of Earth. Why doesn't it? Except for, see, this is what I'm. The reason light bends, we understand on the global model. I'm trying to understand why it bends on your model, and you're just saying this field just does.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Because we have
explaining
refraction on this model too. Right? Like you're saying like how it bends on your model. On your model, you have refraction. Okay. On this model, we have refraction too, but we are also assuming that light is following a field generated from the center. We could call it the center of the Earth.
Okay. Are you saying that the way we understand light to work is any kind of different? Because I'm assuming you're not. I'm assuming you're saying the way I understand refraction is the same way in your model you understand refraction, right?
Presumably.
Okay, so then in our model, my model, what do you think creates that dusk in the situation where you're not seeing the sun, but there's still light up?
That would be when you're. You can go back to the visual aid that I sent, or I'll just copy and paste it again to get it back into view here. God, there's so much nonsense in here. Give me a sec. Okay, so dusk and dawn are both sides of that you're seeing there at the very cusp. And you see that's why when you increase in altitude at the dusk or dawn, you can actually make it brighter again, and you can see the sun, which is exactly what's predicted in this model.
The black sun is the sun? Okay,
the sun is below it, that red dot.
Yeah,
the black sun is the celestial sphere.
Okay, but the black sun is, so essentially what you're saying is the black sun is what creates this field.
Yes, or something within it, we can say. Some mystery element. Black box, We know the output, we don't know what's actually going on.
Then you're kind of at a standstill, because, you can't even identify it.
Well, how am I supposed to do that?
I have no idea. Telescopes, I don't know. How do you know?
You can look at what people have seen with telescopes. It's we're.
Well, my question is,
there is an interesting.
If this is a situation where you can't just take a telescope and look at it, how do we know it's there? It just has to be?
Well, if somebody, I don't have it to send, so really this would rely on if somebody knew what I was talking about and had this. But there is documentation that meteors in the sky, or comets might be, follow a certain path around the North Pole. And the observations are pretty consistent with diamond type of shape. So that leads to some idea of an octahedron.
Okay, that's kind of confusing. How do the poles? Well, there you go. Let me just ask the questions I wanted to ask in the beginning. Hang on. Okay, because it kind of will go with it because it doesn't make sense still. Okay, so in your model, gravity, if I remember correctly, is basically opposite, right? It's a pull, not a push. What is it?
Oh, there we go. Shane sent what I was talking about. Check this out. This would be one way you could try to get a glimpse of what would be beyond that celestial sphere darkness that you see in the sky. I'll save that because I was looking all over for that. I didn't know what to search.
So what you're saying is that the black sun would be what the globe model is looking at as like dark matter.
I suppose so, because they say that the galaxies, all the empty space is full of dark matter, right? So I think it's probably just water, though, or something like that.
And
it's definitely dark, when there's no light.
If it's like a fluid, if it's a fluid, then how does the light bend in such a uniform way? if it was fluid, wouldn't it like go everywhere? It's like, you know, water, and when you shine light at water and all that.
No, I don't think that the source of the field is water. I just think that that's
Oh.
probably what the sphere is full of. That's just a complete off the cuff. It's not even. We'll just scratch that from the record, even because I'm not looking to speculate, and it doesn't really matter for what we're discussing. So just it doesn't matter what's in there. But at the center, I have to believe that there could be something creating this field. Because it's all just a hypothesis, right? It is what I believe, but I'm not saying I can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Are we able to go to space in your model?
No. If by space you mean what I think you mean, then no.
Well, what do you think I mean?
Well, actually, maybe, because I'm not completely close to the idea that there could be some kind of neutral point when you get to a certain height that could possibly be reached, I don't know, or you could actually have something sort of in a suspended orbit that would just move in a similar way to the way the planets do, following that field. But I doubt this because most of what I've seen from space agencies and stuff, like a lot of it looks really fishy and not stuff that I would believe. So I have to think like maybe it can't be done for that reason because I don't really see it being done in a genuine way.
What? Okay, so what exact gravity keeps us on your surface, correct?
You can call it gravity, absolutely.
Okay, well, I understand if you think call it something else, but the same idea. What keeps
it's just not mass
celestial
attracting
bodies?
mass, but yeah.
Okay, well, what keeps those celestial bodies in the middle?
Which ones? The planets?
All of them. Everything in the center. Everything. What keeps them there?
I presume it is because at the very center there is a pull force from whatever field that's presumably whatever's creating the field that the light follows as well. That there's a pull force at the very center of creation, and that as you go further away from that pull force, there's actually a falling force outwards. And that's just the default condition is that you just fall out into the void, and that the center of creation is actually what pulls in. So yeah, when you're just far away enough from that center that you're getting pulled in, and you know when there's zero friction, like I was talking to Roland about yesterday, is that when you have zero friction in an environment, you can predict that it will just swirl around and just sort of orbit when it's that distance away from the pull force, but not far away enough to fly away.
So space is real. It's just our capability isn't there to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to call it space. I would call it the celestial sphere, right? And yeah, I wouldn't say you can go there because it's glass, right? It's a glass sphere, presumably, you know, quartz or something like that. That's all speculation. Something that behaves like glass and reflects light in the way that glass does, you know, like redshift.
Better yet, let's do this. What observations or things you've seen or read about make you think it's a concave Earth, rather than just the speculation stuff, and it could be. Because again, if it is a concave, you're correct. Light works the same way we understand it today. It just would be on a concave. But a lot of it that you're saying is just speculation and I think. What about what you observed that brought you to concave? Because usually, you know, people go from ball to flat, and then you kind of just kept inverting it.
Well, the thing there, and this is where we might reach a little bit of conflict, because I believe that the flat Earth, the standard flat Earth conceptions, as I've seen them, can be falsified and shown to not be an accurate way to represent reality. And I believe the same can be done for the heliocentric, the accepted concordance cosmology model, you can call it, or the globe Earth.
But your argument
I haven't been able to do that same falsification with the concave Earth model.
Yeah, but the problem is, and I've asked you certain questions. The problem with that is that you've already said basically you can't do it, so therefore you can't falsify it. So I mean, you win, right? By default.
No, you can falsify. You could falsify the concave Earth in lots of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of ways.
Well, yeah. Well, you said you couldn't, so that's why I'm asking.
I mean, then again, you can't falsify something that's true. So if you can't falsify it, it's either because it's true or because your logic is wrong, right? So as long as we're using proper logic and we're allowing it to be falsified and we're giving a condition that if A is true, then the Earth can be concave. If A isn't true, then the concave Earth theory is falsified. Then we're doing proper logic. And then if we can't falsify it, that would mean that it's probably true.
Okay, we can't falsify this push-pull gravity that you're talking about, which actually I like a lot because that just brings gravitons into the picture.
Well, it's intuitive and it makes a lot of sense, and I believe we're intuitively gravitated towards that. So you look at a fruit, look at the core of an apple. It's that exact same way. You see the way any sort of living organism exists, the patterns. It all follows the same thing. Look at a cell, an atom. If you believe, I presume you believe atoms exist, right? So whatever subatomic activity is going on follows that same pattern, right? You have the nucleus, and then you have the surrounding membrane. We're supposed to believe all of a sudden when you get to a certain scale, it just turns into a complete inversion of that, and everything's just flying around through the void. I do not buy that personally.
Okay. My question is void. Okay. So when you look, I don't even know what question to ask you next. Because what I want you to, what I'm asking for is observational evidence that you have that it would be concave. But you keep kind of going back to the speculative stuff, the stuff that you can't falsify or you can't test, so you can't show me and you can't tell, so it's all guess. I'm trying to figure out why concave.
Well, because it is a model that explains a lot of things that we observe very succinctly. And I believe it does this better than the globe model. Hold on. And I believe it does this better than the globe model does and better than the standard flat Earth models that I've seen do. So it's the most accurate model to explain observed reality that I've seen.
Okay, so if something is not easy to explain, you point it as probably not the right way. But what about if it may be difficult to explain, but it explains everything, but yours, 90% can be explained simply, but the other 10% just you kind of have to guess or assume, like you were saying. Isn't that a problem?
Well, the thing is, you make that one assumption and it fits multiple observed phenomena, and that's what you would call a good assumption to make, and then you can start hypothesizing that something like this exists, this photonic field that I'm talking about, because multiple observations are explained by this same thing.
Wait, but an apple or a fruit doesn't match that, doesn't correlate. You're just making them correlate.
No, they do correlate. If the Earth really is like this, then it makes sense as in terms of looking at the rest of nature, looking at the nucleus, looking at any fruit, any living thing, right? Follows the same sort of pattern where you have the nucleus and then the surrounding membrane. But then all of a sudden, when we get to a certain size, a certain scale, then the whole process is completely inverted in the heliocentric model. The model I'm proposing, it's exactly what you would expect when you scale up, is that you have a nucleus and you have a surrounding membrane.
So you're saying that the concave works on a small scale? Because you basically shrinking everything to make it work.
No, what do you mean on a small scale? I'm not sure what you mean.
Okay, so we know how light bends with the distance of the sun and how refraction and light, all that works. But on yours, you've had to physically, like literally reconstruct the way the light bends and why it bends to make it bend. So light doesn't bend in your model because of the way, the angles and the temperatures and the atmosphere. It does it because of the celestial body in the center of everything, but you don't know how.
No, I actually made it very clear that in this model, refraction works in that same way, right? It's just that in your model, light isn't following a greater field; it's going in straight lines it's following the path that you'd expect it to by when it's not following a specific field, and it's just being shot out from whatever source. Wow. Hold on,
you said if I could just finish. In a straight line too.
No, if I could finish, it's following that field. So when you look at it at a small scale, it can appear to be straight lines because the field is very large. But then when you look at it at a larger scale, yes, the light is actually bending back towards the center, the nucleus in this model, right? Following that field, like electrons follow a magnetic field. But those electrons or those photons, you can just imagine it whatever way you want. They can go through glass, they can hit objects, they can go through water droplets, and then be bent as they're following that path. That would be refraction, as you're referring to it.
What is making it do that? What are the causes of light bending in your model? Because you said you explained it, but you're explaining and you're saying words.
Yeah.
But every time it's asked about this black body, the black sun that is the center of all the celestial bodies, there is no understanding. Like that's when it just kind of just goes back to
imagine okay. Okay, I'll give you a hypothesis then. Okay, don't act like I'm saying this is like empirically 100% true and this is the only thing that can cause this. This is just a simple explanation.
Isn't that what we're trying to figure out?
No, because you can't nail it down to that because I can't see that for myself. But I'll tell you what, a good basic explanation is we can observe that magnets make electrons bend in a certain way, and you can call it a field, the way that bending of the electrons will occur. Yes, so we can infer that there could very well be some kind of material, we could say, that bends photons in the same way that certain materials down here on Earth bend, or on the surface of Earth bend electrons.
Okay. So what we're here on Earth right now. What do we see in that fashion that bends light? Is there a magnet big enough that we can bend the light? Do you have something like that?
Nope. Again, it's not a magnetic field, and I've made it clear that we can't do that on Earth. Now we have to infer. We have to make an inference.
Okay. What are you making an inference? Okay. Magnetic fields happen, so therefore light fields make the same thing? That doesn't make sense.
I'm not saying that's not what the logic is at all. You're asking how the light bends. And I'm telling you, and I'm giving you an example of a good basic assumption to make. We can make an inference that it would be, let's say we call it Occam's razor, right? We could make the most logical assumption because we can see how magnets down here on Earth can bend electrons in a certain way, and we know that electrons and photons are similar in a lot of ways. So we can infer that there's no reason that there couldn't be a material that bends photons in that same way.
How are they the same? A magnet creates a magnetic field. A photon does not create a photon field. So how are they the same?
No, an electron. Are you talking about an electron?
You said a photon.
We're comparing electrons to photons here, not magnets to photons.
No, you said magnets.
Yeah, you made a little bit of a false comparison there, but
okay. No, you were talking about magnets, right? And you were talking about how you can infer that because they have a field, and then you started how apples and nucleus and atoms you started just correlating everything to be the reason light bends in this fashion. And it's not how light bends. Okay, then what are you comparing this field of light to? Because you keep comparing it to other fields that aren't the same as light. So how are you comparing them?
I'm comparing. Hold on. I'm showing you that we can make a logical inference, right? Because you have to already take as a given that we're entertaining the idea that light bends in this way, because in a concave Earth, it can explain various phenomena observed. So once we take that step, we're not assuming that that's the truth, right? We're just taking it as a given that this could be an explanation. Hold on.
Okay.
Then we have to take.
You can do an experiment that would literally.
Then we have to go to the next step and say what could be causing that, like you were asking. So then we can infer, we can look at magnetic fields, and then we can see how magnetic fields cause electrons to bend in a certain way. And it would just so happen, this is the key factor, okay? So, is that if there were something, hold on, I just said this is the key factor, okay? Listen for a second. I'm saying that if there were something like a magnetic field that were coming from the very center, from the very nucleus, that would be the center of the sky, you could call it, in the middle of the celestial sphere. If there were something like a magnetic field that behaves the same way as a magnetic field does, but it bends photons instead of electrons. We would just so happen to be able to explain all of these observations as ships, or any kind of distant object merging into the horizon, or the dusk and dawn, all of these observations that can be explained by the bending light. That's the key, is that it could act the same way as the magnetic field does.
But, okay, you're just saying that. What would be the first thing you do to test whether or not you can create this light field? So you can stop being your assumption, because it's like you keep saying you're assuming it, but then you keep talking as if it's a fact, or not that it's a fact, that if it was a fact, it would work this way. Well, if, horses had wings, they'd be able to fly. Does that mean suddenly we can say that there are flying horses?
That's not what I'm doing at all. I'm taking multiple observed phenomena, and I'm saying this can explain multiple phenomena, this action of light, right?
Okay.
And it just so happens that the way a magnetic field will bend electrons, if it did this in the same way on the scale of the Earth, it would just so happen to explain all of these observations as we see them.
Okay. Well, a bird doesn't fly when it's born. The wings the feathers fall off and it's able to fly. So horses can fly. I mean, in my world...
What is that? That doesn't have to do with anything.
The same thing you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing.
No,
Everything you're saying...
You're just not listening. You're not listening, man.
Okay, this is how it works. Whether it's gravity, whether it's light, whether it's any other observation, that phenomena that we observe on whoever's model you think we live on, that is the observation. That is the phenomena that we are seeing. Not like you can go, well, if the light does this, then we can say it does that. You have to test it. You have to observe it. You have to have something that says light creates this kind of field. What you're saying is all
light
these other
doesn't
things
create the field. No.
Okay, exactly. I know that, but you're telling me that the light we see is a field.
I'm saying it's following a field.
What field?
The light itself isn't a field. It's a wave.
Okay.
I've been explaining this to you. I feel like you're going into hyper debate mode, so you're really contradictory about the most basic points. So we can't really get anywhere here.
No, because I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
No, it's like you're purposely trying to misrepresent me, and I don't dig it.
No. Oh, absolutely not. I'm actually trying to figure out what you're saying, because when you were saying it in the beginning, you clearly said that to have this at work, you have to assume this and you have to assume that. So I'm trying to understand where you got to be able to assume it, rather than just say because this, and
I
this.
literally just explained.
That.
I literally just explained that.
Yeah,
it's because we can explain multiple observed phenomena with this assumption, so that makes it an inference.
Okay, so then what is the field this light is carried in?
I was explaining that it would be something we could call a photonic field, right? We can assume that there is something originating from the center, that if we assume that it bends photons the same way that a magnetic field bends electrons, it would be able to explain all of these observed phenomena.
So fine. If I assume horses have wings, does that mean that horses have wings? I just can't prove it to you? Right? That's what you're doing.
If you could explain multiple observed phenomena by saying that horses have wings and present it convincingly.
My Little Pony. That's 2. So therefore, horses can have wings, right? Under your logic, under your sound logic, I just proved that. Hey, you know what? If horses had wings, that's how they had wings.
No, if that's how you're gonna play this, I'm not doing this debate.
What? How am I playing it? I'm literally trying to figure out what part of is reality observation of reality, and your assumption.
I literally already told you multiple observed phenomena that can be explained by this. If we assume that light were to be bending the same way that a magnetic field can bend electrons, your horse having wings thing has nothing to do with that.
Then don't be upset with me if I say, well, if I assume horses have wings, therefore horses can have wings. It's the same thing you're doing.
No, we're done. Debate over.
I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do with all these assumptions that can't be given observations. in real world. When I ask
No,
for an
if you're
observation
just
in
going
real
to be
world, that means
disingenuous, if you're just
okay.
going to be disingenuous, then
Why
I'm
don't-
not going to
Why
debate
don't,
you.
why don't we just open it up to the floor and see if we have questions for concave Earth then? Because I think lots of people do.
How is it disingenuous if he's just applying your logic?
Yeah,
He's not. He's being
disingenuous at all.
disingenuous.
Can you
I'm
explain
not at
how?
I think we should define that word before everybody starts trying to use it incorrectly.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what. Okay, I'll walk you through it. I'll walk you through it again. Okay, we are inferring that the light is bending in a way similar to how electrons bend in a magnetic field. Because if we do infer that, then we can explain multiple observed phenomena. And I've already named what these observed phenomena are. I've named a few. Things merging into the horizon as they increase distance from the observer. That's one. Dusk and dawn, that's another. Stars illuminated in the sky is another that could be perfectly explained by that bending path
I got a
of
question
light.
Don't interrupt.
Question for Sean. Let me ask Sean a question real quick. You don't think it's disingenuous when the guy in his opening little presentation, he told you twice that he can't prove it, and you go on 3 times after he told you explicitly
I got a
for
point,
what's his
though.
proof? When he told you explicitly he can't prove it, is that disingenuous to you, Sean? Because it is to me.
No. Okay,
well,
so
his,
then,
his inference is logical when it's based on the Faraday effect, which can be demonstrated.
Then he should have said something. So then we could have gone to something and then showed it. He doesn't
Yeah,
get
it's
all mad
not
at me
based
for asking
on
the same question.
cartoons. It's based on an actual effect, the Faraday effect, bending the light
yeah,
in
I
a magnetic
understand that.
field. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's,
Well,
that's
what I'm
called
trying
a
to find out.
logical inference, and it takes it out of the category of assumption. But yeah, it was just, I think
Okay.
you were talking past each other.
And it, Mike, that,
No,
in that
it's
situation,
that
you
Sean.
observed to see the light.
Sean, you were not listening to me throughout the
I
entire
was
thing.
listening.
It's like
I
every time I
actually
explain
am.
something to you, you act like I'm
You're
talking about
assuming
flying
again.
horses.
No, you're assuming again. Because
Well, I
I
don't-
literally was.
No, that's literally what you were
I-
doing. You're just
I came
being
at
toxic
you-
as hell. You know, are you not
I'm
capable of just having a genuine discussion where you actually hear what
Okay.
I say and
If you want to have
reply
a
to
think
it
tank,
in an
if you wanna have
honest
a-
way?
Okay, if you want to have a think tank, we can have a think tank all day, and I can go all through the moon, and anything you want. I can do that. I've done it for hours on end by myself. It doesn't matter. I can do that. But the thing is we came in with a debate.
No, it's
I was
just
asking
if
questions
that's the
about
way
why.
if that's the way you
My bad.
have to debate because you can't do it logically, you can't just defend your
I
point
did do it
honestly
logically.
and debate that way.
Wait,
No,
what?
that's
So
what
I
was
got
defending?
another question.
What was I supposed to be
we go
defending?
listen, can we go back and rethink those disingenuous accusations? Now that we know it was a logical inference based on demonstration and scientific premise.
Go from there. Let's see. Either way.
Are we men
Still got-
or are we mice?
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask questions without upsetting him now, because he thinks it's literally like, I don't understand. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not saying shit, talking shit. I'm literally asking you questions based on what you're saying.
That's another bullshit tactic, bro. Saying I don't know if they're gonna ask me. Bro, that's a
What?
bullshit tactic.
What the bullshit?
No, it's not
what's
a
the bullshit
tactic, Brian. It's listening
What?
to your
What's the
opponent
bullshit
and applying
tactic?
their logic.
No,
What's
you're
so
just trying to
dishonest about it?
gaslight me now at this point, really. Like,
No,
like,
I'm
I
not.
told you,
What are you
yes,
talking-
you are.
I'm
I
trying to
explained to you
gaslight you,
multiple
and everyone's
times, and
jumping in
now you're
and shit.
interrupting me, right? I explained to you
Jesus
multiple
Christ.
times
It's
why I
about
thought
something that
what I
you can
thought.
Sean, I have no idea how you can claim to be listening while talking through him constantly. Just a thought.
Because literally he's just saying the same thing over and over. Like,
That doesn't make it okay to talk through someone, dude. You have to let him finish. Sorry.
well, he's gonna make a whole tactic that I'm doing, then I'm gonna do the same thing, right?
It's fine, Sean.
That
Let him
wasn't
repeat
me
himself.
tactic.
You can respond after. Come on, man.
Okay, I'm saying that you're being intentionally dishonest, okay? Because you're acting
Yeah,
like
see?
I was just saying
Jesus
that it's
Christ,
true.
I'm not.
Let me speak for a second here. You can reply. Okay? Like I'm gonna let you reply. I'm not just gonna go on. Okay? Just let me say my thing. Okay? It's when you act like my point is flying horses or that it's comparable to that, and you keep pretending like I'm not backing up my point at all, and that I'm trying to claim it as fact, and then not supporting it, and I'm just assuming it. It's just being intentionally disingenuous, because I keep explaining to you that not only am I not claiming it as a fact, it's a hypothesis, but I told you the reasons why I made that leap of logic to say, if we assume that this specific thing is happening, then we can explain these specific phenomena with that. And you just keep acting like I didn't even name those phenomena and I didn't use that as my reason. And you keep pretending like I just use nothing as my reason and I'm just assuming it, right? So you're completely misrepresenting me.
I think he's done speaking, Sean.
When you started talking about it and saying how it was assumptions and this and that, at what point in this conversation do I go from there? Am I supposed to just let you just think tank along and I'm supposed to just go along with it? Or am I supposed to be sitting here trying to figure out why, one, you think it's concave, and two, to show that it's not? I'm not sure like what you thought this conversation was supposed to be. Because if it was supposed to be just a think tank and not to try to make anyone think they're wrong about anything, I could have gone that way. I could have put kid gloves on and just had a discussion over it.
It might have helped if you'd versed yourself on what you're debating. That might have helped instead of you asking questions straight away about the moon.
Yeah, no, come on, Leaky man, that's really unfair. We just kind of threw him into it, so like he had no idea.
But the thing is, if you had genuinely debated it, then that would have been fine. But instead of being genuine and just attacking the point, you were trying to misrepresent. Hold on, you were trying to misrepresent me and act like I didn't know my own point, or that I was just like making an assumption out of nowhere. But that's not what was happening.
No.
Instead of going after the specific things,
now you're misrepresenting what I'm saying.
Yeah, instead of going after the specific things that I said as my points, you acted like I didn't make any points at all.
Okay, me going at your points is me asking you exactly how it works. You saying that it's not fact and it's just assumption kind of goes against me trying to ask you how you know it works. And you saying other stuff and not explaining in detail or even vaguely explaining that situation, you took other things to correlate it. So I'm going to ask you, because again, I'm going to ask you about the specific thing you talked about. I'm sorry if that upsets you, but that's just how our conversation works. Me trying to ask you. I didn't know I was supposed to ask you questions that you couldn't answer.
No, see, you're being disingenuous again. Why are you doing that? Is that the only way you can debate? Is just trying to gaslight the person you're debating? Because that's why I stopped debating. Instead of going after my point, you're just pretending I said something that I didn't say.
No, I was going after your point, and you kept saying that.
No,
Jesus
you
Christ,
weren't.
don't cry about.
You're literally. I can literally tell you my point. I can keep telling it to you exactly what my points are, and you just ignore them, and you make this false accusation that I'm just invoking bending light for no reason, that it's just an assumption. I said it's a hypothesis. I didn't say I just want to be able to fly my assumptions. That's what you're trying to make it out as now, which is it's just being disingenuous again. I'm not just trying to fly my assumptions.
I'm sorry.
That's not what I'm doing at all. I'm telling you.
Shane, I didn't know there were scripted questions here. I didn't know I was had to refrain from asking questions he didn't like. My bad. I wasn't misrepresenting you. I was asking questions because what you were saying wasn't understandable to me. My bad.
Well, I'd rather just open it up to the floor at this point and have you guys stop bitching around each other, because that's not pleasant for anyone to listen to, and that's already tedious for me.
That's hilarious. He starts gaslighting the host when he runs out of gaslighting for this competitor.
What'd you say, Andy?
Cry about Brian.
One at a time, please. Andy, what'd you say?
No, that's fine.
I thought you had a comment that we had to shush earlier, but I thought it was valid.
I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
I just want to say, you guys both, I thought, like, I was blown away. I thought this would be a total shit show, but like, it was actually really entertaining and enlightening. And I mean, I'm impressed Sean G was able to kind of at least maintain the focus of what he was talking about the whole time. And to me, I wouldn't even know what to say to any of that, although it was really intriguing. Like, and it sounded like a legitimate theorized model. Like, I thought that was pretty good.
I've never heard Dovid lay out his theory like this before yet, so that was interesting. Yeah, Sean did a good job.
I want to be clear. I wasn't disrespectful to you, and people that have been can counter that. I get way worse than this, and I didn't attack you at all about anything. I was literally just asking questions based on what you were saying at the time. And if it doesn't make sense to me, the person you're debating, I'm gonna go have pushback on it. If you don't like that, then don't agree.
I already told you I didn't like that you were intentionally misrepresenting me.
I was not. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you obviously, like, you clearly were, and you did it multiple times. Like,
Okay. Well,
so I don't know why you're pretending
okay,
that you
fine.
didn't. Like, you're
If you want me to,
straight,
then fine. I'll start doing that.
full on
Keep assuming,
gaslighting me.
just like you assumed your whole model. You like it? That's what me being like that is really. Because realistically, I wasn't. You're just crying about it because you don't like it.
You're doing it again. See, now you're taking off the shell. You're showing me.
Now I'm doing it on purpose.
No, see, this is how he really was the whole
time.
time. He just puts on this.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
no, you did.
I don't think
you know.
I don't think you're somebody I would ever want to debate, Sean.
Good, because I can't bring diapers to the fucking party.
Guys, come on, be nice. You're all right.
Does anyone have any
questions? How many times?
Let's take a breather. I got a question. You can't bring them to the party, but do you have diapers?
That was a weird question, but okay. It was also
my question is to Dovid. You said several times Sean is disingenuous for giving this example with the horse and the wings. Can you explain exactly how it is disingenuous when he's applying your logic?
No, because he's not. And I already explained this one time.
Yeah.
It's very disingenuous because I said that and he was asking about it, keep in mind, right? Like, that's the whole thing, is he was asking why I would say that the light is bending. So then I would say we would have to assume based on these observations, and that's the thing, I gave multiple observations that can be explained with light bending in this way, in a concave Earth. So I'm saying if we take these observations and we infer that there could be a field of light like this, it would explain those observations as we see them. And then his response is acting as if I didn't name any observations and I was just saying light bends because what if?
Yeah, I thought I covered that well. His example was analogous because he just brought up a fairy tale, but what Archangel was talking about is based on the Faraday effect, so it's a logical inference. And to say that horses with wings are real because you've seen them on TV, well, that's not a logical inference based on experimentation or demonstration. So I can't believe you even asked the answer. I can't believe you even asked the answer. Ask that again. I mean, I went through this once. It's a logical inference when you take into consideration the Faraday effect, that a magnetic field can bend light, and it can be demonstrated.
Okay, so
can you demonstrate horses with wings in nature to make it disingenuous? And I think you're using that word improperly too. Is it a language barrier?
Okay, so to respond to Dovid, I think Sean-G used the analogy of assuming things, and you said it yourself. If you assume this stuff, then blah blah. The conclusion. He used it. Hold on, Michael. Stop interrupting, please. And Sean-G used an analogy. Come on, man. Sean-G used an analogy by
a justified assumption is inference.
And then you called him disingenuous.
No, I'm not going through this again because you're always doing that too, right? You're also usually very disingenuous.
I'm disingenuous.
I'm not even going to reopen that.
You're tick, dude.
You're always trying to gaslight people when you argue with them.
Logical inference is not an assumption.
By asking questions.
Hey, can I have a minute to talk about this horses with wings things and re-bring up and rehash the subject? That was a terrible point to allow to be spoken by you, Ed. Yeah, I mean, any other questions besides that? The point that we're trying to get off of.
And we keep comparing logical inference to assumption.
Thanks, no
just
thanks.
asinine and
that was pretty good. Any other real questions?
You know, like, does anything about the globe debunk the concave theory?
Does what? Sorry, was that a question for me?
Yeah.
No, it was for Sean. Like, did Sean bring up any evidence?
Totally misunderstood. Sorry.
No, they didn't talk about the globe at all.
Yeah. Like,
he
what
said
at
the beginning that he wasn't going to.
Oh, okay. All right. No problem.
What?
Sean said at the beginning that he wasn't going to talk about the globe.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. I just figured he wanted to hear about concave Earth because he hadn't, heard about it before, and you probably want to know what it's about.
No. I didn't know about yours because there are many. Same with Earth. I don't assume your argument.
I guess my
he's heard concave arguments before.
did you see any like real apparent contradictions that you're like, you know what, this doesn't work? Did you find any of those during the conversation?
Yeah,
Sean.
the gravity part, mainly. As much as I would love to have a push pull, a yin and a yang for gravity, there's nothing that is observed for that. So my main question after what we were doing was going right back to the gravity aspect of it. I don't understand how things can go both ways in his model. We don't observe that at all. But hey, I don't want to ask any more questions. So.
Oh, that gravity is what, a pushing force?
As in my understanding, yes.
Okay.
But I can also, from there, I can also start giving examples, start explaining why, and I wouldn't have to say I have to assume everything. Because that was the problem. He may have explained something in detail, but every time he started it, it was, I have to assume. So, and for me, I don't know what he's talking about his model, so I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, like why do we assume that the Earth is flat when we start taking measurements? Like what? I mean, I guess you have to make some kind of assumption.
Yeah, absolutely. The same thing with things fall, but you start taking steps beyond that. If your only step is assuming, and then you stop there, then you're not ready to debate that topic. You're not ready to say this is what we live on.
Yeah, I don't know who was just assuming, because I feel like you're just misrepresenting the argument again.
He's repeating words that you said, Archangel.
You should assume before every sentence. Even after you stop talking to me, when you're talking to other people.
No, but they're assumptions, but they're assumptions, but they're logical inferences, because we're explaining various observed phenomena with these assumptions.
No,
that's the whole point, which I guess I just have to keep repeating because you will keep misrepresenting me.
What you're doing is you're explaining phenomena and observations, and then using it together because it's an assumption.
That's the whole globe model, bro. How do you know the sun is a star?
That's his concave model right now. So that's what we're talking about. It's not the globe model, because that's not how it works.
I'm saying that if we assume light behaves in a very specific way, that specific way we're assuming light behaves would also happen to explain many observed phenomena, and there's no contradiction that we can find.
But the only contradiction is that we have no known mechanism that would cause that to happen.
Exactly.
That's not a contradiction.
Well, it's a problem. There's no known mechanism that would cause light to bend in the way that you say it does.
And that's why I kept asking you.
We can see mechanisms we can see things in there's that too, and we can see things in nature that bend electrons in the exact way that light bends.
Electrons are not light, so stop talking about electrons.
No, but you have to see the comparison there, right? It just so happens that the way. Hold on, let me speak.
You've done it a dozen times.
You have to let me speak for a moment. Okay, stop interrupting me.
You don't need to repeat yourself.
No,
y'all need to quit interrupting Dover, man.
Okay, I'm losing my place here. Okay, the point is that if you have a magnet, which we have magnets in nature, we know that magnetic fields exist. The way a magnetic field causes electrons to move, causes them to follow a path, it just so happens that if photons were to follow that exact same type of path on a larger scale, then that can explain various observed phenomena. So we can already see that there are things that cause subatomic particles like that. And light is electromagnetic, so it is very comparable. And it's the exact same type of field, the same type of movement, a path for it to follow to cause these observations. So I think that's a very reasonable logical leap to make, to hypothesize that there could be a field causing light to bend that way.
Problem, Dover, is that light doesn't have a charge.
What?
The reason that we see magnetic fields bending the path of an electron is because an electron has a charge.
You saying photons don't have a charge is also an assumption. Everything in your model is assumptions. And interrupting and bashing on him, man. I don't get it.
Now, if photons had charge, we'd be able to measure the charge of the photon. We haven't measured.
Yeah, how about a solar panel, bro?
I'm not saying that photons have
charge.
charge.
Doesn't have anything to do with charge, dude.
Yeah, I'm not saying that photons have charge. I'm saying that photons are electromagnetic, right?
Yes, they are
they're
electromagnetic
yes.
waves.
No,
Yes.
and I'm saying that if photons were to bend in the way that, or move, we'll say, in the same way that electrons move as caused by a magnetic field, that could explain these multiple phenomena. So how is it not a logical inference to hypothesize that there could be a field like that?
And do photons have energy? Not you, Dovid, the other guy.
Photons are energy.
Okay, so you say they can't have a charge because they're energy.
They
I
don't.
mean,
No,
bro, that's
I
just
said-
like saying that's like saying
that's
a
not what I
water.
said, Brian. Brian, that's not what I said.
You said they don't have a charge.
Why are you putting words in my mouth, Brian?
I'm giving you an inference of
No,
what that's
no,
like, and you didn't let me
put
finish,
words in
bro.
my mouth.
You're an
You
asshole.
said that I said that photons can't have.
I
a
said
charge because
that's
they're
like
energy.
saying.
No, well, it's not.
You didn't? Did you or did you not say that photons don't have a charge? And then I asked you, do they have energy? You said they are energy, and I was going to give you an inference, and you interrupted me.
Yeah, they don't have a charge. They're a byproduct of an electron jumping orbitals or losing energy, going from an energy level to another energy. Like, I know,
It's
Brenda,
all assumptive. It's all assumptive. It's all within models.
So Brian, something can have energy and have a charge, and a photon is energy, but it doesn't have a charge, but it doesn't not have a charge because it is energy.
Have you ever seen do you know what the Faraday effect is? And have you ever seen the
No, he doesn't.
Like,
yes,
no, obviously he doesn't. Have you ever seen the lenses with the light under the magnetic? How it bends the light.
Yeah,
so you've seen light bend, then, right?
Is there a lag? Can you try to quit? Can you try to quit interrupting people? Can you just wait like a man till they're
Can
done
you
talking?
tell them to stop assuming things about me?
You
that they
couldn't
don't
even
know?
let me finish moderating. You had to interrupt me. Stop being childish, man. Grow up and act like a man.
Yeah,
That's all we're asking.
Just
you to
because
do.
I think everything you say
That's
is fucking
hilarious.
stupid doesn't give me a right to interrupt everything you say. Now, does it, Andy?
No,
Says the
nobody
biggest
cares.
liar
What
here.
I asked you guys to act like men. We know you're not a man, so nobody gives a shit about your opinion.
Shut up. So,
Just act like men. Master yourselves. Christ. You
back
need
to
a
the electron
babysitter?
shit, man. So what's going on here?
No,
Brenda was
can a
talking,
lens
Andy was
bend
talking.
light? I wanted to ask, can a lens bend light?
Yes.
All right, didn't he say in the beginning that that there's a type of lens up there, a type of a glass
He
like
believes
structure?
that there's some kind of glass firmament. Yes.
Okay,
So-
man. Well, then for you to say it's impossible is not
Okay,
it's
but
gaslighting.
Brian, the rest of the debate or discussion that he had with Sean, he was calling it a field. We don't know of any kind of just field that's up there or any mechanism on Earth that we know about that just bends light like that.
Bro, everything in your model is
What's the Faraday effect then?
So what about the Van Allen belts?
Oh,
my
magnetism
God.
can bend light. I can prove it. You want me to show you a demo?
Yeah, an electromagnetic field too. It's called the Faraday effect.
Thank you.
The Faraday effect does not bend light.
Can.
Fuck.
Right here, I'll just
Faraday
post it.
effect.
It's called the Faraday effect. Like, yeah.
It doesn't bend
Sorry.
light. It
Sorry.
polarizes the light. That's not the same thing as bending it.
There's two of you that refuse
Show
to
you
be
You
respectful.
guys are fucking ignorant of this information.
I
I'm
know.
posting
The
video for you.
atmosphere bends light. Lenses bend light. Electromagnetism bends light. Magnets bend light. Bro, they're acting like, oh my god, I don't even know where to
And
start.
that's not just a field that's bending light.
When you get the citation,
Here, let me show you then.
Say nuh-uh.
Oh, there's better than a citation, a video demonstration, so you can just shut your mouth. Here, look. Watch the video. It's 10 minutes. And just watch the video and get back. No, it's not. It's olive oil. So you click on the fucking video. It's olive oil. What fair? Shut the fuck up. Watch the video, then comment, please. Because it's not fair.
It doesn't
for
happen
making
without the
shit up.
fluid.
It
It's called
says
the
it right in the
Faraday
thumbnail. Olive oil.
They're
It's
trying to
right
act
in
like
the
it's
fucking
just a
thumbnail.
fluid, right? And it's not just a fluid, because without the magnetic field, you don't get the result. They're not being honest, man.
Yeah, that's why I muted you, Brenda, because you're dishonest. Like, read the title and you'll understand there's no ferrofluid in there. So stop. Like, not with me. Shit ain't gonna fly. You do calculus, go fuck yourself. Like, nah, not today. So yeah, be honest, please.
This looks very interesting. So it's causing the actual light to bend.
Yeah, but you got to view it through polarizers, right? So yeah.
What it's actually doing is
I
it's
didn't even
polarizing
know about this.
It's not
quite
bending the light;
interesting.
it's polarizing it. It's not the same effect.
The polarizer is
Define polarize.
polarizing the light, right? But behind the polarizer, you have the magnetic coil, right? So, okay, you want to walk us through this then, sir?
I'm just.
Yeah, we understand that. The polarizer is in front of the magnet, not behind the magnet.
And that's all I'm saying is that Faraday effect is not bending light; it's polarized light. That's all it's
Which
doing.
does what?
It changes its orientation.
It restricts.
It doesn't,
that's right.
light
It
didn't have a
restricts
charge.
the
It doesn't change the direction. It changes the orientation.
Wait, how can a photon have a charge? If
That's-
I mean, how can it not have a charge? If it's
We're not
polarized?
talking
I
about.
never said anything about the charge, Brian.
Fuck. All right, so we're not talking about the polarizing film. And I doubt that you guys watched the whole video in a few seconds. So please just watch it. It's just pretty cool. It's very interesting. Whenever I saw this years ago, yeah, you
Take a look at
graduated
this.
what?
I've got a light source here, and then I've got a polarizer in
Cool.
front of it.
Me too.
And then
Good for
over
you.
here, I've got another.
That's not an accomplishment. That's an
90 degrees
expectation.
to it, and it's, causing the light
Speaking
to
as a
actually
parent, a
rotate
father.
the field slightly. Links in the description for those near a vial.
I highly doubt that you can even solve a two-variable equation, Brenda.
Quality of these polarizers. It might work with.
Is that what the Faraday effect says?
No.
Yeah. Show me paper. Go ahead. Bust it out.
Well, we'll end it for now for that debate since you're going into crazy territory and people came in just to upset it. But we'll be back in an hour with our Saturday regular Tartaria stream. Thanks y'all for coming.
Well, you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show. If you don't know, it's part of the show. Didn't they teach you to reach for the stars while opening up the bars and keeping you chained down with mortgage bills and cars? Vaccines for your arms, kids sounding like supercharged, caffeinated hate-filled scars and rage-quit repertoires. No answers for yards, caught up in emotion that's not even yours. Imposter truths like impeccable retards, lined up for your serving of gish galloping wars. No remedy can't save the lost, in love with the yarn. I'm tired of walking into refracted shards, poor science displayed by disgusting bards. Soaked in sin with your dupe is delight and a new hand of cards. Been so long, seems like for love I'm just too hard, I'm just too hard, that's it. Welcome to the show, where you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show, if you don't know. Intoxicated 8 makes you believe you're spinning in space while you have no shame or grace. It's a disdainful state I used to contemplate, how to save myself from my own self-hate. Wonder why I was even made with a dreadful fate, forced to try and awake with a full plate, no one to help me stay awake or educate. I've had to liberate and fight through hidden gates, but my brother, heaven could never be late, and rockets don't work in space. It's all fake, the show is on Mars, it's a joke, but you're too far gone, it won't be long. Fepe's beak is strong. We have our song and we march along like streams of knowledge leading to God's holy pond, and lives of truth that hits the bong and sings the song, turns mankind from the wrong. We come in peace with a holy gown and all of us wearing our holy crowns. Said the earth is flat and we probably just won't get along, just to go along. I said, welcome to the show, where you don't know part of the show.